We are joined today by the newly declared candidate for governor, Ned Lamont of Greenwich, best known to all of us as the 2006 Democratic nominee for Senate. Mr. Lamont, thank you so much for being with us today. And our panel today, we have Paul Hughes from the Waterbury Republican-American and Jeff Cohen from WNPR Radio, formerly of the Hartford Courant. Gentlemen, all thank you so much for being with us today. I want to ask you, first of all, Mr. Lamont, you have been very critical of Governor Rell and her leadership, or lack of leadership, as you've said, because of this economic problem that the state now finds itself in. Would you also like to see, if elected, new leadership in the House and the Senate, perhaps a new House Speaker and a new Senate President?
I will work with the legislature, but I'm also going to stand up to the legislature because, yeah, I hold the governor accountable. Where I'm from, Dennis, there's a CEO. The buck stops here. I expected the governor to propose an honest budget. She never did. Yes, the legislature's got to respond. They got to respond aggressively. I wish they had done more in terms of reforming government, changing government, bringing down the cost of government. But at the end of the day, I hold the governor accountable. That's what a CEO does. But
Speaker Donovan and Senate President Williams had a veto-proof majority for a while and really could have put in the budget that they wanted to. Are they to blame for this mess as well? And are they effective?
Hey, look, there is plenty of blame to go around. No question about it. For 20 years, we've been dead last in job creation. For 20 years, we've been falling behind. But where I'm from, I hold the CEO accountable.
So you would endorse them for re-election?
I want to be CEO. I want to be CEO. I want the buck to stop here. I want to be held accountable. I want, after 4 years, to say Ned Lamont solved it in an honest way or otherwise.
So you'd encourage your fellow Democrats to vote them into their offices again?
Why not? I'm going to work with them. We're going to get an honest budget.
Good enough. Paul?
Speaking of the budget, Governor Rell and the legislature relied on union concessions to help balance the current two-year budget. What will the Lamont administration ask of the state employee unions? They have 7 years left on a 20-year contract governing their pension and health benefits. So what will you do to get something more out of the unions? Or do you have any intention to ask them for more?
Well, first and foremost, if you want to solve this budget crisis in a long-term sense, it's going to get down to jobs and economic opportunity and expanding the pie. I've said before, you know, we don't need more taxes, you need more taxpayers. You got to expand the tax base. That's new jobs, opportunity, business startups. You know, we go through this budget crisis every year or so because we've had this diminishing economic pie and the politicians divide it up and we don't have much left over. I think we want to have a governor that focuses like a laser beam, you know, Paul, on economic creation, economic development, growth. You know, yes, we're also going to deal with the spending side of the equation, but that's really going to require big, bold reforms in how we deliver, you know, health care in the state, how we deal with incarceration, how we deal with some of the big issues that are driving costs. I think those are going to be my major priorities as governor.
But I haven't heard what you would ask of the state employees to assist you doing that. I mean, they pay far less in terms of their co-payments for prescription drugs or doctor visits.
Well, everybody's going to be at the table. When you got a $3 billion deficit, which is what we're going to be inheriting next year, everybody's at the table. You know, a couple years ago, I set up a policy center at Central Connecticut State. We had labor and business, Republicans and Democrats, and we said, you're all in this mess together. What are we going to do to solve it? Labor is going to be part of that solution, absolutely. But we also talked to the business community. We said, look, we are spending 100 times more on these tax expenditures, these tax giveaways today than we were just 20 years ago. Dead last in job creation for 20 years. We're not getting much bang for the buck. So there are a lot of ways that we're going to be able to bring down the cost of government.
Jeff?
A follow-up question of sorts. You've spoken a lot about economic development and creating jobs as a way to create more revenue. But in the short term, the state has a really serious, acute problem when it comes to the budget. This year we're looking at $500 million. I think next year it's more than $500 million. After that, we're talking billions of dollars projected, $3 billion or more. If you were governor now, and if you were to become governor, very basically, what would you cut? What taxes would you raise? Give us a sense of how you would, leaving aside the economic development, because that seems a few years out, what would you do now?
I think we have not earned the right to raise anybody's taxes. So I would focus hard on spending basic reforms that bring down the cost of government and in particular that $5, $6, $7 billion a year of tax expenditures that are sort of exempt from the tax roll, often written in there by the lobbyists. The hundreds of millions of dollars for Starwood or World Wrestling Federation or Jerry Springer Show, or what we just heard up with Pfizer at Groton, New London, where after 8 or 9 years of getting tax abatements, they say we may close down this facility. So I think there's an awful lot of money on the table that we ought to be looking at and looking at hard. That I would look at. Secondly, I'm a guy that comes out of telecom, IT, information technology. I think we provide sort of service in state government today the same way we did 25 years ago, Jeff. I think we can bring down the cost of government just by basic productivity and reforms.
Does that add up to $3 billion?
It starts. That's where we're going to start.
And
we're
when
going
you
to start on the spending reforms, start on the big reforms that bring down the cost of government and the tax expenditures. But don't leave out economic growth, because it is impossible if we keep having this shrinking pie and fewer people paying more and more, taxes. We're going to have a focus on job creation. Dead last for 20 years, behind Michigan, Jeff. It makes it impossible to balance a budget when the pie keeps shrinking.
Dennis, if I could, just one other question. You said that we haven't earned the right to raise taxes. Does that mean you don't intend any sort of tax hike to help balance the budget?
No, I don't think you can say that, not when you're confronting a $3.2 billion deficit or whatever it is.
So where do you see that tax burden falling?
Whenever people say, read my lips, no new taxes, they always end up raising my taxes. So I'm not going to make some false promise out there. But I've told you how I'm thinking about it. I'm going to hit hard on the spending side of the equation, real fundamental reforms. I don't think the governor or the legislature really put their shoulder to the grindstone doing that, and I'm going to focus on those tax expenditures. I think we'll make a really good start. A year from now, the world may be a different place. Let's see. That's my priority.
Do you support Governor Rell in her opposition to bringing back tolls to our state borders?
I think I do. Only because I don't think the technology is there as yet. I'm down there. I'm in sort of a border town. We've had accidents. We don't know what that's about. But I think when the technology's here, when you can start using tolls without any physical necessity, then it's something that will be on the map. Right now, I think it's a little premature.
Do you support the governor in her opposition to Sunday liquor sales? Should a person be allowed to open their liquor store on a Sunday if they want to?
I think so. I don't know why government wants to step in and tell people you can or you can't open your store that day.
So if that bill
I don't think it's the answer to our budget crisis, how some of the people were talking about it. But I'd have the government step away on that and let the store owners make up their own mind there.
Good enough. Paul?
I had an opportunity to look at your Facebook page before we taped this evening, and a young man from Hamden was enthusiastic about your entry into the race, but he also said that in 2006 he didn't believe you defined yourself. I believe he said your message was basically, I'm not Lieberman. You didn't tell a majority of the voters what Ned Lamont stands for. And another person wrote in, and they wanted to know, what will a Lamont administration stand out? So how will you define yourself? And how will a Lamont administration be different from the Rell administration, the Rowland administration, the O'Neill administration?
One, I'll be the first governor in many, many decades who comes out of the private sector, who has created jobs, will have a laser-like focus on economic development. I think that's very different from the political class that's been running this state for an awful long time. Two, Paul, I've been an entrepreneur. I've been a reformer. I changed the way we do business in our industry in a modest way, and I will fundamentally try and change the way we do business in the state of Connecticut, because it's certainly not serving the people we're meant to serve, and it's costing the taxpayers a fortune.
Jeff?
I'm going to go back to taxes, if I could, Dennis.
Go right ahead.
Just quickly. Could you give us a sense? People want to know, at least I think we all agree, people want to know, if I vote for somebody, what's going to happen to me in my own tax bill? Recognizing that that's not your emphasis. Still, if it's going to be part of what has to happen, can you give us a sense of where you see the tax burden falling? I know some in the governor's administration have been critical of the unearned income taxes that aren't as reliable when the market tanks. But how do you see, if you were governor, what would you push for? Who would feel the brunt of a tax hike?
I don't look at it that way. I mean, You have to have an honestly balanced budget. There's no question about it. You want to know why businesses won't come to Connecticut. You want to know why they won't expand in Connecticut. Just a lack of certainty. We have no idea what this state is going to look like a year or 5 years from now. We don't know what the mix of taxes and spending are going to be. We don't have a strategic direction of where we want this state to go. And that's a tough bet for a business to make when they're thinking about where they're going to locate. I think it's just way too early to be talking about taxes. I can tell you it's going to reflect our values, but more importantly, I want a tax structure that promotes economic growth and development, not out there to punish anybody, to just raise the revenues we need, the balance, but more importantly, promotes economic development and growth.
More with Ned Lamont in just a moment. If you'd like to leave a comment about today's broadcast, you can do so on my blog, The Hartfordite, on WFSB.com. We'll be right back in a moment. Welcome back to Face the State. I want to ask you about President Obama because Attorney General Richard Blumenthal implied this week that maybe he wouldn't want the president to come to Connecticut to campaign for him. And there are some who say the president has sort of been the kiss of death in certain elections. He comes and campaigns for you, and that person goes on to lose. And the last Quinnipiac University poll showed a declining approval rating for the president in our state. In fact, in Chris Murphy's district, down to 50%. Do you want the president to come here and campaign for you?
Look, I salute the president for tackling some issues that we've been kicking the can down the road for a long, long time, on health care, on energy, you know, even looking at the war in Iraq. But I got to tell you, Dennis, this race for governor is all about Connecticut. I don't need a lot of folks coming in from out of state. I want to make sure people know I am going to Hartford to fight for them. This is what my plan is for Connecticut. Washington's going to do their thing. I'm going to make sure we get our fair share of what's coming out of Washington. We haven't been getting our fair share. But I'm going to be focused on Connecticut, the issues confronting our state.
You were the co-chair of his campaign in this state. Would you invite him to come?
Look, if the President of the United States was willing to come to Connecticut to campaign for Ned Lamont, you bet. But don't miss my main point. I'm focused on Connecticut. I'm not looking for a lot of outer-towners coming in. We're going to do everything we can to convince the people of Connecticut that our best days are ahead of us. We're going to invest in our future and get this state going again.
Would he hurt or help you?
Help.
Speaking of the Quinnipiac poll, sort of the first poll that came out shows you as the Democratic front-runner. A Rasmussen poll has come out showing you ahead of Lieutenant Governor Mike Fedeli by about 8 percentage points, with a large number of undecideds, and leading Republican Tom Foley by 3 percentage points, again with a large number of undecideds. How much of this early lead is attributed, could you attribute to your name recognition from your 2006 run, and what are you going to do to sort of maintain that status? Now, are you the guy with the target on his back in the Democratic field?
Like, I'm not a poll guy. I think I got into a race in 2006, and I was down 90-10 when I got in.
But you surely paid for pollsters during your campaign.
But look, when it comes to polls, you know, who cares? I think the people of Connecticut know who I am. They know that I stood up in 2006. I stood up to the political establishment. I stood up to Republicans and Democrats, and I said, we're going to have a change. And I'm saying it's 4 years later now, and we have a crisis confronting Connecticut that's every bit as energizing as what confronted us back in 2006. And I've got to convince the people of Connecticut to focus on this state, focus on a state that has been shrinking, focus on a state where our young people are leaving, and what leadership can do to turn things around. I think the polls will reflect where I stand once as people get to know me and know what I stand for.
Well, name recognition can also be helped by spending, particularly on television. You spent about $16 million of your own money in the 2006 Senate campaign. How much are you willing to shell out of your own pocket to run for governor?
Hope it's not like 2006, but we're going to be here to compete, Paul. I mean, I didn't spend any more money than Joe Lieberman, but I'm going to be here to compete.
But Governor Rell and Governor Rowland spent about $4 million to $6 million in their last campaigns. I'm just wondering, you must have a ballpark figure.
There's a Republican who's up on TV right now, and he is advertising, he's running a general election campaign, he's defining himself, and he's defining the opposition. So we're going to make sure that we have a broad base of support. My last fundraising quarter, in 1/3 the time as anybody else, we raised a lot of money in small money donations. And that's going to be the energy of our grassroots campaign. But yeah, we're going to be there to compete and win. It's been a long time. We need a new governor. We need a governor that's going to take the lead in this state.
So you're not going to name a figure today?
You kidding?
I just thought I'd ask.
But before you get to the Republican, though, you've got Democrats you have to campaign against and with, I suppose. Is it fair, and given that you said you're not going to fight this campaign with one arm behind your back against Republicans who are also foregoing the public campaign finance system, is it fair to compete against your fellow Democrats who may not have the same resources available to them in the primary process?
What are you suggesting? Hold off and let the Republicans go on TV for the next 5-6 months, and we'll hold off and start our race in August? That's a loser for the Democrats. Look, we got some great Democrats who are running. I've gotten to know them pretty well. You know, legislators, mayors, you know, I come from a little different background. I'm a little more of an outsider. I come from a private sector experience. I was a selectman. I was board of finance. I've been a teacher in Harding High School in Bridgeport. But my defining experience is somebody who started up a business. That's how I'm going to go out and introduce myself and say, I think that's the type of person we need to take this state and turn it around.
The cities of our state have been suffering. You know, in many cases like Hartford, corporations are leaving the city to go to cheaper land out in the suburbs where the taxes are lower and things like that. Is this the future of Connecticut, where it doesn't make a difference where the companies go as long as they're within the state borders, or what will you do to keep these cities thrive?
Connecticut was its greatest when Bridgeport and Hartford and New Haven were three of the richest cities, you know, in the world, and they were. And Connecticut is struggling now that our cities are struggling. And as somebody said, what's good is having a suburb? You got to be a suburb of something, and that means a city. And we have a tax policy and property taxes that are sort of self-defeating. It's the opposite of smart growth, Dennis. Whereas you point out, we're hollowing out our cities, and business and transportation and gridlock are all spilling into the suburbs, eating up our open space. I think we're doing it exactly wrong. If I was governor, I would focus on our cities. I think looking at New Haven and Bridgeport, Hartford and the insurance capital, that's when Connecticut's going to be great again, and that should be our focus. And transportation's a big part of that, because public transportation is going to create energy around that, and that's going to be a focus of mine.
What are the plans do you have to improve business in the city, to keep businesses there?
Well, first of all, education. You know, you've got to have a great education system. I love what they're doing in New Haven with DeStefano and the union have come together with a really bold education reform effort. You know what that means? That means young families are willing to be in the city. You know, number two, universities. I see what's going on in you know, Yale, New Haven, Quinnipiac, the whole basic research going on there in the life sciences. 40 biotech companies have been funded and created there just in the last 5 years or so. So a strong university base, a strong education base, that's the energy that brings the city back to life.
Paul?
In terms of economic policy, the Department of Economic and Community Development has just released the first strategic plan, overall plan for bringing back Connecticut. It's more than 500 pages. I don't know if you've had a chance to read any of that. But what are your thoughts? There seems to be a consensus that there's been a lack of planning in Connecticut in terms of economic development. How will you bring a coherent, more cohesive approach to that?
Yeah, so that economic plan was not a plan. It was 500-plus pages in no random order, no priorities, no sense of strategy in terms of where we want to go. And it really, not many of those ideas were reflected in the governor's you know, budget message the other day. I think strategically you look at where this state's great strengths are, and then you focus your investments around there. We have one of the most productive workforces in the world in terms of high-end manufacturing, a very well-educated workforce. You think of that in terms of the Naugatuck Valley and you say high-end precision manufacturing is a place where we have a strength. That's where we ought to be focusing some of our energies. I described sort of the knowledge corridor there to Dennis, going from New Haven all the way up to Pfizer and Groton, New London. There's where we ought to be focusing on the life sciences. That's where we have the wind to our back, Dennis, and that's part of the future of the state. I didn't see any of that strategy in that report that came out of the governor's shop.
Jeff?
You mentioned in an interview earlier this week, or last week I think it was, with the Connecticut Mirror, that you were opposed, it seemed, to the idea of paid sick leave. Could you talk a little bit about that and whether or not that got you into any hot water with some of your more progressive colleagues?
Look, paid sick leave is a worthy goal, and I'll be supportive of it. And John Green and others have reminded me in terms of public health how important it can be. But in terms of my priorities, we have 100,000 people who are unpaid indefinite leave. It's called unemployment. So I'm a little different than the other guys. I'm going to focus there, getting those people back to work. That solves our budget. It solves keeping young people in this state and gets the state going again. That's my priority.
I want to ask you, Senator Joe Lieberman was on this program a few weeks ago, and he said he was open to the idea of endorsing you for governor as the campaign progresses. Would you welcome his endorsement?
I'd welcome his endorsement. Look, as governor, I'm going to work with our senators. I'm going to work with our entire congressional delegation. We are leaving hundreds of millions of dollars on the table down there in Washington, D.C. You know the numbers. We get so much less compared to all the dollars we send down than any other state in the country. So Lieberman, Senator Blumenthal, our congressional delegation, I'm going to be down there in Washington, D.C., whether it's race to the top or high-speed rail, energy efficiency monies, we're going to get our fair share.
What is your relationship with Senator Lieberman? Can you work with him well? I mean, he's going to be your senior senator if you're elected governor.
I'll work with him just fine. I talked to his office, just this week, and I said, I'm in this race to win, and I look forward to working with Senator Lieberman when I'm in the governor's mansion.
We have time for a final question, and 4 years ago you proudly said you are a liberal Democrat. Would you say that today?
I'm a progressive Democrat. I'm not quite sure what the difference in means is, but I'm a Democrat because I think we believe the government can be of help to people in need, help in terms of building a foundation. I'm a business guy. I know that at the end of the day, businesses create the jobs, but we need an education and a transportation infrastructure that allows us to grow, and that's why I'm a proud Democrat, Dennis.
Good enough. Paul Hughes from the Republican American, thank you so much for being on our panel. And Jeff Cohen from WNPR.
Thanks,
Ned Lamont, best of luck, and I'm sure we'll have you back on here again.
Pleasure's mine. Thanks,
Good
Dennis.
to see you again, sir.